and welcome back to Reactivity TV. I'm Amy Albero, and I'm a licensed therapist.
I am Chris. I'm not a licensed therapist, but what I am is potentially a LAID. I had some real concerns about the lack of marketing and push and financing going behind this season, but I have to say, I'm not a fan of limo entrances typically, but this was actually a solid first start. And Grant, I think, did a fantastic job as our lead thus far, one episode in.
I agree. I was definitely cautious going into this episode as well. And I know we talked about this a few days ago, but yeah, I think he killed it. I mean, very entertaining for sure, but he was much better and much smoother than I was anticipating him to be. But I don't want us to get too carried away. So we're going to get into all of our opinions about Grant's season of The Bachelor, which is season 29. Before we do, please go ahead and hit that like button at the bottom of this video. And also please subscribe to our channel. We love our growing community here. We love all of the conversation going on in the comments. So hit subscribe and be part of our community.
And please also make sure to hit that bell icon so that you're alerted anytime we post new content to the channel. Because I think, based on the first episode of the season, it might be an entertaining season. It might be worth watching.
I agree. I mean, the ending alone looks like it's going to be a dumpster fire, but like in the best way possible for a reality TV show.
There are good dumpster fires.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that, but I'm going to take your word for it.
From an entertainment purpose, like the drama will be there. Keep us engaged. There's nothing worse, when we cover Golden Bachelor and like it just feels too predictable and it gets boring. It's kind of a drag to watch. So it's nice when like there's still a little bit of spiciness, lack of predictability. There's chaos going on. That's what keeps us entertained.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so we got a lot to cover. So we've got limo entrances. We're not going to do them all, but we will talk about those that we thought hit, those that we thought were a miss. I think during the cocktail hour, we want to talk a little bit about the girls that really, I think, brought it and shined, and those that maybe didn't take a tact or approach that we would recommend. And on top of all that, we need to just kind of talk about the feel and the vibe a little bit. We got to talk about a llama. Let's start off with the opening sequence. I know you had a lot of thoughts on that. Take us away.
Yeah, listen, as you were saying, as we were both saying, we didn't really have a lot to grab onto prior to the season starting, prior to the premiere. We had met Grant, obviously, in Jen's season and had learned a little bit about his background. But I think that the show did a really nice job grounding us again in who Grant is and letting us really revel in the seriousness of like his readiness for this next step. I think that really came through here. And it also let us know and gave us a preview for where he might have hangups in the future, in future relationships through this season. And I think that is really important that we kind of have that background and have that context as we begin to prepare for this journey that he is about to go on. And so not only do we learn about his family, his home life, and how it was tumultuous. There was a lot of conflict, and there's also a lack of productive and healthy communication. There wasn't a lot of verbal like discussion around emotions, and Grant really put a lot of emphasis on his basketball career, not only as an outlet for himself, but as a way out for his family. And so we know a lot about him, inferring from those things. And I think that is really important as we think about the character of Grant, what his character is. But this idea that he is a lone wolf, that he's used to going alone, I think is going to pose some interesting struggles here. And while we see in the teaser, I think part of what is going to create a lot of difficulty for him in choosing someone is actually the fear around letting someone in and letting go of the control that you get when you're alone. And I don't mean control in a aggressive way. I mean like the predictability that you get when it's just you that you have to take care of and rely on.
How did you feel about the introduction of Dad this early?
I think that's important. I think if memory serves, reference to Dad was part of Grant's story in Jen's season.
Oh yeah, if you remember, I was extraordinarily critical because I thought Jen really fell down during she fell down in a lot of these conversations, but this was one of the big fall downs where she just didn't handle the conversation well when he was having a real emotional intimate moment with the conversation. Yeah.
Listen, I think his dad helped shape him into the man he is today. And so why not meet him now? And if his dad is at a point in his recovery to be a part of this for Grant, then why not? Why? What do you think?
I thought from a production perspective, they maybe blew the wad too early. I thought that we see that he's going to come back later in the season. Feels to me like from a purely production standpoint, there was nothing of value that was added. We got introduced to him here at the beginning. Seems like a reasonable enough guy. Obviously, we know that the backstory is a little tumultuous, but like he presents well on the screen. But he didn't say anything of value. There was no value added.
I disagree. He said something that I wonder if we're going to have to come back to, because I clocked it. He said,
"You are special," multiple times.
Basically, but what he was really saying, he said, like, I have no doubt that you are going to make someone happy, but it's also important that you are happy too. Remember what our family has gone through. And I think that given what we might, again, infer about Grant's experience growing up, that he might not understand how to put his needs first within the context of a relationship, hence being a lone wolf, being more simple for him. And so that will be interesting. Does he compromise himself, his wants, his needs, in order to just defer to someone else's needs, comfort, happiness? But as we're kind of sticking with Grant before we get to the limo entrances, really, let's then talk about, like, that's our kind of voyeuristic view of Grant. When we see Grant open the season himself with the toast, what was your feeling about that?
This was one of the best toasts I could have possibly imagined. This was really the moment. Like when we were watching the episode, you had said, "Wow, this intro is really good," and my response was, "Yeah, but this is all B-roll produced. He's got 97 takes that he can do all of this, and they can edit the crap out of it." Like this being good in this situation is not reflective of anything related to what the season's going to be. It's what's going to happen when you've only got one take to do it. When you are forced to respond, and you're in the moments of these things where the editing can do a little bit of work, but it can't bail you out of the entire hole you put yourself in. And really the opening speech, while again, it's an opportunity where it was could easily even should have been rehearsed, but it does also give us a good reflection on how he's entering in, how he's thinking about things. And, we looked at, the Gary Turner, speech, which I thought was awful. And, several others of these intro speeches that don't come off as good as they could, or really kind of let us into a little bit of a mindset where I'm like, I don't know if they really get what they're doing here. I thought his was fantastic. Probably definitely the best of those that I've ever heard. He was clear and concise about what he wants, what he's looking for, what he values, what he cares about. He also gave all the women a nice prompt, which I thought was really nice because
so smart.
It was like, hey, listen, if you don't have something to talk about, you're nervous, whatever, I basically given you a prompt to start off with, and here I am going to answer it. And we all know it, and this is kind of the running joke at Revive and whenever I have to interview people, is I always give people in the first interview the answers to the test, and let me see if you can just regurgitate the answers that I gave you back to me. And if you can, we'll move you on to a second interview, right? But if you can't even regurgitate the answers I gave you, then I know you're not going to make it, as an employee. And that's effectively what he did. Gave him the answers to the test, and some of them we'll see, hit a home run, and others really just missed the assignment entirely. So yeah, I loved it.
I thought what you were going to comment on, in addition to that, was how he answered his own question.
He answered the question for them and told them these are the values that you need to convey in order to get a rose.
Well, I more mean his definition of love.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Do you want to talk about definitions of love right now?
Well, I know you on this show often talk about love is not a feeling, love is a verb. And that's essentially what Grant described to us as how he views love, that it's the little things, that it's the little actions that you take.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I thought he was almost there. Right. I do think that we saw throughout this episode that there were some moments that indicated that he really did have a very mature traditional understanding of love. There were some moments where I thought he's not quite there yet, but certainly further along than every other contestant or lead I've ever seen on this show. Yes, love is not a feeling. Love is not the graduation of like. right? Love are the conscious choices that we make. You choose to love. Love is a set of actions that you volunteer yourself into committing and performing. And when he does talk about his definition of love, he is saying things like it is the hug and the kiss and the talking to one another. And he did even say, I think he said like giving a flower and stuff like that, which sure, I'll grant it on the margin a little bit. So yeah, I it made me feel good about where he is in his maturity and understanding of love, because there are people with many more years than him who still haven't figured out what love is.
Sure. And I think, he is someone who in interviews, he's talked about emotional intelligence and that being really important to him. And I think it's more challenging for a man to express emotional intelligence in this way that he's doing. And I think he's, again, kind of giving what he's hoping to receive in return.
All right, shall we go to some of the limo entrances?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we have 25 women. Let's just start out with that. I thought Grant, on the whole, was very gracious. He had a good kind of glibness to him, and just seemed to really understand when dealing with each of the women, when he could sit back and let them drive, when they maybe were a little nervous and he needed to take control a little bit of the conversation and kind of navigate. This is a really difficult skill socially, and most people don't have it.
Yeah.
And we just saw it over and over, these little times where it's like, oh no, the Caroline, with the Spanish speaking one, Caroline, like she's good. I don't have to do anything with her. She can just let her roll type thing. Meanwhile, you had some of the other ones that were a little bit more timid, and he just jumped right in there to kind of get the ball rolling. And very impressive. That is a very difficult skill, undervalued skill. Yeah. So before we even get to the girls, I think that is noteworthy and praiseworthy.
Yeah, I mean, talk about like being cool under pressure. He was great. Clearly, he's a confident guy. I think like he was loose. Like I wasn't sure what to expect. You've often referred to the leads as wooden. And I thought he was the opposite of that. I thought he was comfortable, and that helped to like lessen the nerves of the women.
Disarm.
Disarm. Yes. Thank you. And yeah, I thought he was a great host in that sense.
He's very smooth and charismatic and suave in a lot of ways, and just worked really, really well. But let's talk about, want to start with favorites?
Yeah. I mean, just of note, I just want to,
of note, yeah.
Just, it's always notable who is first out of the limo. And of course,
your girl, your favorite.
It's the woman that I just, knowing nothing else about her besides her photo and the very limited bio, I was like, oh no, I think this is the woman that I'm going to be super annoyed with this season. Rose, 27, RN. And I think I've been swayed, not away from, not into her being a favorite, but, she didn't really hit me in any type of way. She wasn't off-putting.
She was just another person in the thing.
Yeah. But I always think it's notable who they have us meet first. I don't know if that's the order that they actually came out, but did you have any thoughts about why Rose might be a first limo entrance?
I think Rose is somebody who is naturally a little bit silly and naturally probably comfortable and a little extroverted. And as a result, I think it probably is just a nice, easy icebreaker. We've seen various different people go first and go last. And I just think start off with somebody who, whether they're going to make it or not, but somebody who's just going to calm the nerves a little bit, steady the ship, right? So yeah, that's
fair. She was kind of like an even, steady
just
person.
Drop her into a situation, she'll be all right. She's just one of those people. She's got one of those personalities.
Right. And the will you accept this rose was probably a good like little play on the situation.
Nice, easy. Entry type thing. Right. But in terms of making an impression, other than her name, there was nothing. Ladies, I think that color dress, while it's a beautiful color, in a room, when you know you're going to be in a room full of other beautiful women in beautiful dresses, don't go with these like
muted.
These muted blue soft. So it's one of these amazing things. You ever what was that Hillary Duff fake Shakespeare remake movie from way back day with Cinderella Tale or whatever?
Yeah.
With the guy from One Tree
Michael
Hill.
Murray.
There you go, that guy. Okay, so one of the things that the producers or directors had talked about when they were making that movie, and I know everybody is shocked. I know this, but that's okay. Is that they had to keep putting her in soft blues in that, because the thing with the soft blues is it's the only way to downplay Hilary Duff's like natural beauty. And that's what blue kind of does. It just downplays and mutes everything down so that even if you are really attractive, it makes you a little bit less attractive, gives you a little bit less of a shine. Now, oddly enough, there is some scientific reasons for why this is. It has to do with how light spectrum comes through the atmosphere, but that's a different conversation altogether. The bottom line is, if you're trying to stand out as a woman, don't put yourself in a muted blue, especially if you're going to be in a room with a bunch of other beautiful women. It's a beautiful color. It's a beautiful dress, but it doesn't work for what you're trying to accomplish. And so I just don't. So many women this season made that mistake. There was like 6 of these dresses that were all in that same vein. And if you look, most of them did not get roses, interestingly enough. So anyway, a little bit of a sidetrack there. That's my one big criticism of Rose. Otherwise, she was a perfectly acceptable kind of whatever candidate.
Yeah. So who did stick out to you?
Okay. So stuck out in a bad way. Your girl that you were interested in, Lydia, whatever, number 2, Latia, didn't hit for me. The verbal fry is brutal to deal with. She speaks so slowly to the point where it's just like, I'm just waiting for her to get to the verb. And I just don't feel like there's a strong personality there.
Yeah.
So I know you were interested in seeing where she was going to go, and how she was going to do. I think she was good on paper, but man, I don't know if it was nerves or what, but it was a hard watch, her coming out of the limo, and it didn't get better as the night kept going on. Nothing wrong with her. She seems like a perfectly nice person. It's just, this maybe is not where she's going to shine. I don't know. We'll see once she gets a little more comfortable in the mansion, but I thought she had a rough first night. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's beautiful, and I loved all of her sparkle dress, her body glitter, the sparkly basketball. So she was clearly going on a theme there. But yeah, when she just started communicating with Grant, I was like, oh, I don't see much of a like spark happening at all.
One other person that I absolutely hated, probably my least favorite person, and that was Bailey. The second she came out of this, the second that she got a package, it was pretty clear right off the bat. What I can say is that this is a young woman who fundamentally does not understand what men are interested in, does not understand how men think, has kind of drank the Kool-Aid of modern feminism and doesn't really get like everything she's doing is a turn off. From the come take pictures of me, it's like, do you think that the first thing you want to do is give your phone to a guy and say, hey, come take a bunch of pictures of me? Is that it? Do you know any guy where that's what he's excited to do? Just knowing that this is what the rest of my life is going to be. And then only afterwards, it's like, oh, now we can take a selfie. You've relegated him to second.
Your Instagram boyfriend.
To your Instagram boyfriend in the first 5 seconds. She's, and it's not that she's a bad looking girl, but she's also, compared to the other women in that room, nowhere near as beautiful. So she can't, kind of lean on that to kind of bump her along.
She just painted herself as very shallow,
very self-centered, and not there for the right reasons. Yeah. And it only got worse as the night went on.
Yeah, agreed.
I
was shocked she doubled down on it later.
Oh yeah.
Which we'll get to.
Yeah, and it feels like she was a production pick, start to finish. Like I don't think she's got any legs. I don't think he likes her at all. There's not much. He's talking about family. He's talking about the acts of love. He's talking about being a committed relationship. and caring for another person. And her entire shtick is take pictures of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Missed the assignment entirely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, doesn't even understand who Grant is. And if you watch one episode of Jen's season, you'd have a better understanding of who Grant is,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd never come in and with the tack she took, it was a miss everywhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think she's got legs. But what about you? Who'd you like or dislike?
Well, let's see. Someone that I didn't love was Allie Joe.
Yeah.
She was the woman that came in the Jeep with pizza from New Jersey. And I think the thing that just rubbed me a little bit wrong about her was that it felt like she was playing a character of like a Jersey girl. And I don't know if that's her or not, but it didn't really come through as very authentic. And I couldn't tell if she was like playing a part or if she was being herself or like who she is within the character she was presenting us. And so that to me, like, and I think that's where with these first impression experiences with the limo entrances is, yes, you want to stand out, but you want to be yourself. And so like, how do you, and I think the juxtaposition of that is the person that did it really well was actually Alex, who came in with the llama, because she was so natural with that damn llama. Like, and I feel like you could get a sense of her sense of humor. Like we've seen people bring in animals before, but the way that she engaged the llama, like it worked in a way that a gimmick like that I'm usually not up for. But I think her engagement around it again was memorable, but also gave us a really good sense of who she is, and so I liked that.
Yeah, going back to Allie Joe for a second, I agree. Us being 45 minutes from Manhattan, we deal with kind of the Jersey caricature person all the time, and it's what it felt like. It felt like you are literally trying so hard to be the caricature of a girl from New Jersey, and like I can do without it. I'm not really interested in seeing more from her. It's just not what I think is gonna play well. But yeah, going back to Alex, Llama Girl, right, the speech therapist. Yeah, she's not for me, but I understand the appeal. She's there's a naturalness in her own skin and who she is, and a comfort, which is really it's just really nice, and it's warm to be around. She also is very clear about what she's looking for and what she wants. And she just exhibits a lot of qualities that I think a guy like Grant would actually really like. And obviously we're going to see that play out later in the episode. But yeah, she's not for me, but I think she's got legs, and I think she's going to go far. And the llama, you know what? I am not one who likes people bringing animals places. It was kind of cute and fun.
Nah.
It was well behaved.
It was well behaved.
It was a really well behaved. I don't know enough about llamas to know what a behaved llama looks like, but that seemed like a behaved llama. I would have thought the other women would have been like really aggressively turned off by it and making a big deal of it if it wasn't a well-behaved llama. I think the behavior of the other women in the house was a great indication of the quality llama that Alex brought to this. She didn't just bring any old llama. She brought like we're talking, this is a high-class llama.
I'm sure production gave her a very well-trained llama.
You don't think this was her llama?
I doubt it was her llama.
She grew up on a farm.
She didn't cart this llama from French Canada.
Was she from French? I thought she was from Kansas. Was she the one from Kansas? Hold on.
She's French Canadian.
She's French Canadian.
French Canada. I don't know.
French.
That's not. Or like Quebec. I don't know.
Can I just do 10 seconds on Radhika? I was like, I just skipped right over her profile when I was reading it online. And then she came out with her little weird, creepy little Bollywood dance. I'm like, you know what?
It wasn't creepy. She was just awkward.
I'm kind of in. Like, yeah. I
a little goofy.
The dress, I kind of liked the dress. She was kind of goofy. She was kind of pretty. She kind of like leaned into something that was a little bit weird. And I'm like, you know what? The big eyes. It was just the whole thing. I was kind of like, you know what? I don't know why. Kind of liking what I'm seeing. I kind of want to see more. So I was a little disappointed that apparently Grant doesn't agree with me, but I thought it was a little weird, but I was in on it. I don't know. Can't explain it.
Speaking of women that were absolutely gorgeous, I know that
You want to talk about Alicia?
there were two that stood out.
Yes. We didn't get much from Alicia at the very beginning. We got more of, obviously, a lot more of her later when she gets the first kiss and stuff like that. If you are a young woman looking to be very appealing to young men, take a page out of Alicia's book. Forget for a second about her being an absolute beautiful knockout. I mean, she's a beautiful young lady. It's she comes in, she sits down, she's warm, she, talks about meaningful things, but she's a very disarming, and you can tell she's a very warm person. The way she sits and engages, where it feels like she's so open, but she's also very genuine. Like everything about her body language, everything about her tone said this is a young lady that has figured out, at least on the surface. We're only one episode in. We'll see how things go. But this is a woman who understands like what a man is going to immediately find appealing when he's thinking about who he wants his future wife to be. Right? Men are at our very core nature. We live chaotic lives, right? Whenever we're out there, that's between the aggressiveness with which we deal with everything in the world. When we come home, we want a calming force, and there's just something about this Alicia that she's such a calming presence, and that is so appealing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, she was definitely appealing, and the producers or editors loved her too. I feel like she was on camera so much. I'm interested to see screen time. But the thing, I guess, that I'm going to pay attention to, she is a pageant woman, reigning Miss California or something, and so that could mean a couple of things. One, she knows how to give a curated performance, or like. Yep. Curated answers.
This is why I said give her another episode or two to see where it falls. Anybody can hold it together for an episode, but yeah.
And there's also with that, the possibility that she might be very aggressively competitive with the other women, and not necessarily trying to stereotype pageant people in that way, but it can happen, and on this show it has.
I mean, you don't win pageants by not being competitive. And not putting in the work to win.
Yeah.
And California, pretty big state. I'm sure you get a lot of competition there.
Sure. Yeah.
You're dealing with all the girls from LA and everything like that. It's not like, So I would venture to guess, knowing nothing about pageants, but just knowing the demographics of the country, I'm willing to bet that California is a hard one to win.
Yeah, I would think so too. Speaking of another really beautiful woman, Juliana.
Oh, one big black mark on Juliana, but she was actually probably my favorite of the night. Absolutely beautiful, fun, engaging.
You liked her dress?
I loved her dress. Yeah, maybe the best dress for me. But she's from Massachusetts, so she's out. Sorry, Juliana, you are out. You will not be my second wife.
Did you clock how she said her Chiron said that she's from Newton, Mass, but she said she was Boston, Mass?
Okay, so here's the thing about this.
It's a suburb of Boston.
Well, okay, there's no such thing as Boston. Boston doesn't actually exist. It's basically a pinprick. So for those who are not from Massachusetts, Boston, literally, you can walk across. I've done it. You can walk across all of Boston from start to finish in 14 minutes. That's how small Boston is. And so, yeah, anybody who's from basically anywhere within 40 minutes of Boston just says you're from Boston, because Cambridge or Newton or whatever, all the way out to Lawtown and Lowell, you still say you're from Boston, right? I know that's a little bit of a hike, but still, there is no Boston. Boston is literally the size of our house. It's so small. So saying you're from Boston is somewhat meaningless, so.
All right, are we ready to get into the cocktail party, or is there anyone else from a limo entrance perspective that you wanted to spend time on?
Actually, I will say that we already talked way more than I thought we were going to talk on the limo entrance. Apparently, I found the limos entrances to be more interesting than most of the others. I have historically not liked limo entrances. I'm going to say that this was the most enjoyable set of limo entrances, and I think it had more to do with Grant than it did to do with the women.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that the gimmicks were really light.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a gimmicky
Mm-hmm.
slapstick comedy type of guy. And I thought that the women came in maybe because they're all a little bit older. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
that last episode. The gimmicks were light. The women set felt more genuine, and I thought Grant knocked it out of the park. So,
yeah. Well, let's talk about what happens when they get a little bit more one-on-one time with them. We saw quite a few one-on-one experiences that Grant has, and I don't think that we need to go through all of them. But who's one or two that you really want to spend some time on?
I want to talk about the PowerPoint. Okay,
Parisa.
Oof, boy, this was hard to watch. Talk about somebody who just doesn't get it, right? Hey, when me and my friends get together, we make PowerPoints about what's been going on in our lives.
This is a very TikTok thing.
Okay, can I just point out, like, I can't even imagine if every time I ran into a friend, they made me a PowerPoint presentation about what's going on. That's not a friend, all right? That's an enemy. That's somebody that you avoid at all costs. That's psycho shit, all right? And then the actual PowerPoint itself, forget about the lunacy of the whole thing. Then she's got all these pictures of them with babies and
like
pregnant.
AI generated, yeah.
It's like, you're a lunatic, lady. Like, you are straight up, like, and one of the problems is, and I'm being a little bit glib here, like, I get she was trying to go for effect and all this other stuff, and she's probably not really a psycho. She's probably a very nice young lady. But the problem is, like, what did you hope to accomplish with that? What did he learn about you? Nothing. That you're great at PowerPoint skills, that you can use ChatGPT to generate some images. Like, what did he learn about you other than, hey, you really love your cat, right? Kind of going back to the Bailey situation. Do you love your cat more than me? Do you love your phone and your Instagram account more than me? Like, what are you conveying here? And there was just nothing in this PowerPoint that conveyed anything about who she was, what she's really looking for, what her value systems are, what qualities she's looking for in a man. Like, it was literally just I want to be married and I want to be married to you and I can't convey why. And so here's just me looking really, really, really desperate. And here for all the wrong reasons. Am I being harsh?
I mean, yes, but for you, no. I do think, it was a swing and a miss. Again, like, I think that the intention was to be funny and she just missed the plot there. And even the intro package that they showed us was like leaned too heavy on trying to be funny and wasn't, like her crystal collection and, being a cat lady and things like that. It was just like, not where can you be serious? Like, what is there to know about you actually? And then it's also that idea of, show me, don't tell me. Like, I'm learning nothing about you at all. And that, for someone who comes right in, Grant, and says, like, these are my intentions, like, I am here to get married, and then for you to meet me in that way, yeah, it's giving not ready.
Yeah. Yep. Other one that was a complete miss, Bailey. Again, she just doubled down.
Self-absorbed stuff.
Self-absorbed. The wig, the whole thing. Like, does anybody like wearing wigs? Is that a thing that like anybody says, hey, this is going to be a fun, enjoyable type of thing? Now, granted, I actually don't think Grant looked that bad. He kind of looked like some old school, like kind of like 50s Rat Pack kind of singery type thing. I don't know the Rat Pack. I'm just making things up now. But still, it was a miss. The whole thing was a miss. Again, what did we learn about her other than she still is coming across as self-absorbed? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, she was someone that I wished would have gone home, but I understand why she remains.
Even the 10 fun facts. It's like, let's play a quick game, 10 fun facts. And then what are her fun facts? Like, I've got some sisters and some whatever.
I like to travel.
Travel, and I'm willing to move. And it's just like, this isn't how you get to know somebody. It felt like speed dating in a lot of ways. And it just...
And meanwhile, she was the first one to grab Grant. And Grant had literally just given them the assignment, what does love mean to you?
Yeah, exactly.
One of the kind of one-on-one chats that I think we need to talk about is Alicia. She had kind of given this whole song and dance to the other women about the fact that she doesn't kiss on the first date. and they all were like, "That's what everyone says." Who's like just about to kiss someone, and then
There's
lo
some
and
good
behold,
editing
yeah,
around this. Yeah.
it's unclear whether it actually is the first kiss of the night, but she and Grant do kiss. They did really seem to have chemistry.
Yeah.
They seemed like they were very, very comfortable with one another, and that it seems like pretty easygoing. We learn a little bit more about Alicia and her upbringing. And
It was so obvious. In the first note I had, she sat down, cuddled up with him right away. And the first note I wrote was, he is so physically into her, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
And you could just tell the entire thing just flowed naturally because there was just like physical chemistry there.
Yeah.
And unlike, say, a Jen and Sam situation where there was physical chemistry, but there was, Sam was never able to kind of capitalize on it because he was just not on the same, level at that point. Alicia just settled in, took her opportunity to really let him get to know her and kind of where she's from. And we learned a little bit about her value system in a way that was just really smart. Right. And again, do I think that she had a leg up in this opportunity because it was so clear that he was so physically attracted to her that, she was still able to capitalize on it in a really smart, natural way. It was an A+.
Yeah.
One of the best executions of the night.
I think so too. And I think as the kisses went on, they got worse.
As they start to add up,
multiply. Juliana, we see her right after, and similarly, they kiss. Although she pulls him in for a kiss, but they seem to connect over like the value of family and the impact of family on their lives. But the one I do want to talk about, I don't want to go through every single one, but the one that we should spend time on is Carolina.
Worst body language of the night, perhaps?
Yeah, talk about that.
There was just something about the way that they went up to the fire. They were a little cuddled up. I just thought the placement was awkward anyways. Just the way that they were sitting and trying to like be near the fire didn't really play well. And then she just had body language that was really non-open, really curled up. It's body language that you kind of naturally would look at and say, this person is either hiding something or they're not comfortable and they're still kind of being defensive.
She looked exhausted.
She did, yeah, and that's fair too. I mean, we don't know what time this was, but she definitely was not giving the appearance of somebody who really was
wanting
prepared,
to be there in that moment.
Wanting to be there and was really prepared to really be open. And you saw that play out in the actual dynamics where I don't think it was a formally negging, but it was definitely borderline nagging. Like she was
like ribbing him a lot.
It was a lot of ribbing. And it's like, look, I'm trying to have a conversation. There's 25 women here. I'm not gonna I get it. You're trying to be cute and it's cute at first, but now like after the third time you telling me you're my wife, it's like, okay, and ribbing me because I'm not saying that we're gonna have kids together. It's like it's a little too much now. You just need to let it go and let me try and learn about you. It just was a miss. I didn't think that she comported herself well in those moments.
Right. I mean, and she does get very emotional talking about how important her parents are to her and getting sad thinking about what are things going to be like when they die. And listen, I feel the same way. We've talked
it's
about
also
that.
an odd conversation,
but it was
to have
odd. And so it did make
yeah.
me wonder again, like the influence of exhaustion, alcohol, and she surprised herself that she was crying. And so I don't know. But it sounds like she had like a little bit of a vulnerability hangover, kind of like showing that kind of emotion, and all of that sort of shut down any opportunity for any physical affection. And Grant even said that. He had said, I really, she's my type and I did want to kiss her, but I could tell that she didn't want to do that right now. So,
yeah. Which good for him. Read the room.
Yeah, read the room.
I mean, we've definitely had plenty of them that have not read the room quite so well.
Yeah.
So at that moment, we get the stranger arrives. Or the next, I would say the next meaningful thing that happens. We get a quick like montage of a bunch of conversations, like 1 word, 2 words at a time. But you called it right away. You didn't even need to see anything. Obviously, it's his sister. They had already had done some teaser work with the sister earlier on in the episode. So she comes in, freaks all the girls out. They have a good kind of conversation, get on the same page, and then the sister's going to hang out. She's going to answer questions. She's going to do a little baby book of whatever show. How did you feel about this?
Excuse me.
We're really loading up on Grant's family a lot in this first episode.
Yeah, it must
We got
mean
grandma,
something.
we got sister, we got dad. We're loading up with the family.
Yeah, so a couple seasons ago, I think it was Charity season, they had her brother like kind of go undercover as a bartender, but it was like kind of absurd because they put him in this like ridiculous wig, which I liked because then you really got to hear like the candid version of what the men were thinking. But I did like this. Again, they keep beating this drum that family is important to Grant, and clearly it is because of what we're seeing here. But I did like that she did a little bit of like Q&A and give it like rounding out Grant a little bit more for us and for all of these women. She also said like some things that he could work on, which I thought was funny and probably appreciated. But it's so hard to know again if these women are they gonna be genuine. So
I liked the sister coming in more than I liked dad. For a couple reasons, but the sister was engaging. She hung out, did some stuff at the party, allowed the women to come and ask her questions. I really liked that. As you said, she talked about what his Grant's positive qualities, but also some negative qualities. I actually really like that genuine openness. Like, I think that, and we talk about all the time, the putting the lead on a pedestal is so annoying. They are human. They make mistakes. They are fallible. And, for the sister to come out and be like, hey, yeah, he's really great at all these other things. By the way, the guy is the most disorganized mess in the world. So one of you is going to have to get him organized, right? I like that. I really do. But what I thought was the most noteworthy piece of this whole thing, and again, speaks to people that are ready versus people that are not ready. Red flags that maybe you do when you're dating and you don't even realize that these are red flags. So after they do the whole baby show, baby pictures and stuff like that, she goes out and asks the women, is there anything any of you want to know? Who was the first person that asked her something, and what did she ask her? Do you remember?
I don't remember who it was, but they asked about previous relationships.
Bingo. Red flag. It was Allie Joe, New Jersey. First thing she asked was, I want to know all about his ex-relationships. It's like, that's what you care about. That tells me that you have some serious insecurities that are going to be a problem. If I'm dating somebody new, I want to get to know you and I want you to get to know me. Who I dated in the past is not relevant on the first or second date. It's important to come up in conversation later on, but the fact that you're asking the sister as the first question, not what was he like as a child? What are his fears? What are ways that you can earn his heart? Not what do you think the most important values that your family has? No, it's who did he date in the past? Tell me about his relationships. It is so telling that you are not ready for a mature relationship if that's your first question. It is such a big red flag.
That's fair.
And I was already, not loving Allie Joe as a potential option for him anyways. And that took it away. Meanwhile, Letitia, I can't. It's such an interesting spelling of a name. She did really well. She was talking about family dynamics and things of that nature. So I thought that was a good demonstration of somebody who did it really well, juxtaposed against somebody who did it really poorly. One used a time with the sister well, one used a time with the sister really poorly. And when the sister says to Grant later on, I like some of the women, I can tell you some is not Allie Joe. I'll put money on that one.
Yes. So she sticks around for a little and then she leaves just in time for the first impression rose to be dropped. We learn this first impression rose is a little different than others. Not only is the recipient of the first impression rose safe tonight, but they are also going to be going on the first one-on-one of the season.
Which is a big prize.
Yeah, it's a big prize. Remember, they tried to say the first impression rose winner could essentially steal a date from anyone else, and then the what's her name threw it in the fire. Oh my god, I hated her.
Oh yeah. Oh god, she sucked. She's terrible.
She was awful. Anyway, so this is really coveted first impression rose for that reason. Fun fact about the first impression rose, with one exception, no contestant that has ever received the first impression rose has won. The only person for the men, the only person that ever received the first impression rose and received the final rose was Hannah Ann on Peter Weber season, but he broke. That was the messiest ending I've ever seen, and he ended up breaking off their engagement before the after the final rose anyway, because he didn't really want to pick her.
Was he the one who went back with the other girl? And they're still together? Is that guy?
No.
Okay.
No. Anyway, so before we get into the roses, any other kind of one-on-one situations that you?
No, I think we've talked about the highlights, the lowlights. I think that this was an episode that could have been a tight, like 75 minutes instead of 120 minutes. But beyond that,
a 90 would have been right. I do want to just note he seemed to really take a liking to Natalie, and the fact that she works with children makes her more attractive to him. Again, continues to track with what he's looking for in the future. And then he and Rose had that Clay moment, which for me was just stupid. But good for them.
Yeah. There's something that's nice about Natalie. She's a little bit too, I don't want to say boring. Like she just doesn't, in this room of women, I think she's going to have a hard time shining.
She's one of the younger ones. And so she doesn't have as much depth as the others appear to. Yeah. And she just keeps going back to like she has like one note of, let's breathe deeply and like talk about our worry stones. And like, okay, I get it. Hey, I'm a therapist. Sure. But like, let's expand.
Yeah. And that's the problem. She seems nice. She seems smart. She seems pretty. But like, I need more. Like, more. This is going to get old really quickly. When you're competing against some of these bigger personalities.
Totally.
Meanwhile, Rose, I think Rose has the personality. The Clay thing, not for me. Getting my hands dirty. Yeah, no, I'm out.
All right. Well, moving on to the roses, we have the first impression rose. It goes to Alex. Surprised?
No drama llama, girl.
No drama llama.
Yep. It wouldn't have been the pick. I said, I get it. I think there's a lot of appealing qualities about her. She didn't stand out enough for me, and she's not really not the type of girl I would go for. But I get it. Like I could have seen it going to Alicia. I could have seen it going to Juliana. But those might just be my biases speaking. I think of all the Lydia. Lydia. We'll figure out what her real name is by next episode.
Yeah. Sorry.
He seemed to really like her. So I thought maybe she had the possibility of getting it, but yeah, I don't. I really, this was one of the few episodes where I really didn't have a strong. I thought it could have gone any one of 4 or 5 different ways.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I think is a testament to the good casting. That there was that many viable picks for him.
Well, I mean, again, with Grant's season, the argument for announcing him so early and announcing him in the way that they did was to get people specifically for Grant. Because as we've talked about in the casting, like they are pulling from casts that have applied for other contestants. Yeah. And so it's possible that we have more women that are actually here for Grant and, better suited to be with Grant.
Yeah. So moving on to the rose ceremony itself, we sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sent 7 people home. So we had 25 to start with. Alex is safe. And we sent 7 home. So, I'll say the eliminated 7 were Kelsey, Savannah, Janae, Radhika, Christina, Nisi, and Kylie. I was actually really surprised to see Kelsey go. There was something. She was the one who came in. She had the jersey on
Oh
at the
yeah.
beginning. Then she swapped out of the jersey and she was wearing like a red dress later on in the night. We got nothing from her, but there was just something about her vibe and her energy where I thought like I would give this girl a rose just to see where it's gonna go. So I was really surprised when we saw the people that kind of stuck around.
Right. Maybe she just didn't have enough of a personality for TV.
I don't know, but I that was really the one that I was the most surprised about. I thought all the others were like, okay, I get it. But there was just, something about her that I thought there's a vibe here I like. I'd like to see more. And the one that I'm not surprised about, but again, I don't know why, but I think it was Radhika. Was that her name?
Yeah.
The Indian attorney? There was something about her I liked.
Do you know what I think that it is? It just hit me. You know who she reminds me of? I'm blanking on his name from Jen season. The guy that also had like the big eyes and the big facial expressions, and he was the one with the spider.
Oh, with the spider. Oh, yeah.
Paradise.
Yeah. He was great. I'm blanking on his name too, but he was absolutely great. Beginning with an H.
Hakeem.
Yeah. I liked Hakeem a lot. He was so much fun. I had zero shot of winning that season, but he was so much fun. Yeah, I don't know, but I was sad to see her go, but I wasn't surprised to see her go. But there was just something about her. Outside of that, anybody you thought was?
Not particularly. I mean, I think Janae was really surprised to go home, just given their connection with basketball. But I had said this when they did their meeting, that I thought that she friend zoned herself way too quickly.
Yeah.
So I think that is probably what happened there. But
yeah, this kind of comes back to what I'm saying about some of the others like Bailey. And she had said at one point in time, like, oh, we share so much in common. We both played basketball. It's like, first off, that's not a lot. That's one thing in common. Two, when in the history of any like dating scenario has anybody ever heard a guy say, you know who I really want to date? Somebody to play basketball with. Like, it's not a negative if you play basketball, but what I'm saying is like, that's not that's not the quality that you're looking for in a wife typically, or in a girlfriend. Like, sure, it's great. We can both watch basketball together. Maybe I like that. Maybe I don't. It all depends. But like, if that's what you're leaning on, that is, you've misunderstood what most men are kind of looking for when they're trying to figure out who they're going to marry and who they want to be with. It's a great add-on, but it's not a great lead.
Sure.
So.
All right, let's go into Rose and Thorn.
I'm happy you asked about my rose this week.
Love it. My thorn this week.
I hated to see that. First Rose and Thorn of the season. Better make it good. Where do you want to start?
I've got my roses ready.
Okay, go. Roses.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just handing them out from the start?
Hey, it's, premiere episode.
All right.
I'm feeling generous. And maybe they could be combined in some way, because they actually both have to do with limo entrances.
Okay.
One, it's not so much a limo entrance, but the way that the edit came out. One of the women said, it's so hard to know where Grant's head is at. And then Serafina walks in with the big Grant head, and that like actually made me laugh out loud. So I thought that was just a great job by the editing team. And the thing that also made me laugh out loud was Zoe and Grant with the t-shirt gun blasting the t-shirts out at the
fact
women.
that the first one literally landed like right. an inch from somebody. Yeah.
Just like silly, stupid stuff that again, like made me laugh. And usually limo entrance night is like not my favorite, but I really appreciated those two moments.
Yeah. Well, can we just do 10 seconds on Zoe really quickly? Because this was actually kind of a disappointment, and maybe this is my thorn for the episode. But on paper, I was really excited about Zoe. She seemed so beautiful. She seemed really interesting. And then we got her, and in terms of people that on paper versus what we got had the biggest gap, Zoe was it for me. I was really sad. Like there was nothing wrong with her. It was just like, I was just like really sad. I was like, I built her up in my mind to be so much better than she was going to be. And it just didn't, and like to the point where like, she did end up getting a rose, but like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just not interested in you at all. And that's, yeah, it's kind of sad. So I'm gonna go with that's my thorn, is that she just sort of let me down. Just sort of let me down.
And your rose?
I think it's the opening toast. I really, really liked his opening toast. At a level that I've never liked an opening toast before. And I thought it really did a great job of setting the tone of the season. It was, kind of his first real shot where he's not getting a second take on this. Like, he's in the room. He's, had a little bit of time to get the nerves out and like, let's see how you can convert on this opportunity. And I thought he did a great job. And, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the way he set the tone. I'm a fan of the way he presented love. I'm a fan of the way he presented his journey. So that was definitely a rose-worthy moment for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that was, yeah. I hope that just sets the tone for the whole season. But
I'm so confused though. Like, why aren't they? What happens?
Well, that's kind of what I was literally just going to say, which makes me really nervous because something must have gone down
for them to abandon the season when it's clearly started so strong.
Yeah. Right. Well, and like, please tell us if like, maybe it's just us, maybe it's just our algorithms. Are we missing something? Did you also feel like Grant's season didn't get as much promo as other seasons? Like, maybe it's just us and our perception. I don't know.
I don't have social media, so I don't have a feed per se, but like, I usually hear things. People talk about stuff.
Yeah.
I hear stuff around the water cooler. Nothing. Yep.
I don't really get it.
Yeah. All right, your thorn.
So I don't know if this necessarily qualifies as a thorn, but it was definitely a question/concern that I had and my group chat had, which is Grant was, kissing a lot of women, which, he has said that physical touch is his like main love language. So good on you, Grant. You do you. But I also want to know, not only did he kiss a lot of women, but he ate pizza and he had chips and salsa. And so like, what is the process for keeping fresh breath all night? And like, what is do you rinse your mouth out after you make out with someone? Like, what is the process? What do you think you owe someone?
Are you asking me a question here?
I don't know. It just had me really thinking, because that could be someone else's thorn if they're like the 10th woman that got.
So I think you bring up a really important thing. And so what I will say is, as a mature married man, I only be kissing one woman a day. So I don't have this problem. That being said, I was a young finance bro in Manhattan during my 20s. And so
I just remembered what my thorn is with you saying that one phrase. Go for it.
Me being at one point in time in my life a 20-something finance bro in Manhattan, I can definitely say that the lips might have been a walk-in on more than one other set of lips per evening. And I as an adult, I think, a breath mint at a minimum would be the appropriate thing. Can't say I always did that between the kisses, but I think that is what is a minimum what is owed. A first kiss, I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that these are first kisses, right? First kisses are owed a little bit more time and care, right, than follow-up kisses. I think having good breath, putting your best foot forward, like everything else, putting your best foot forward. Let me have a nice breath mint, or a little spray thingy, whatever, like go rinse it out, a little mouthwash, whatever you got to do. I think that is the appropriate thing to do the first time you're going to kiss somebody, period. End of sentence. Now, and so if that is your default position, then yes, obviously you should be, doing some sort of breath mint mouthwash between all of these first kisses. Where I think it actually gets interesting is later in the season, where now it's not the first kiss. Maybe you've made out with all these people. You don't necessarily have you don't owe the same level of care at that point in time, right? Now it's like, I mean, I still want to be.
You see how that sounds backwards, right?
I still want to be.
The more invested I get in this relationship,
the more you're going to have pizza breath. Yeah. because now you like me for me, okay? And it's less about my breath. And now I can. It's kind of like when our friend she tagged the guy, and now it's like, oh, I can let my crazy out. Yeah, now you can kiss me with my pizza breath, right? You like me for me. Now you get pizza breath.
Got it. Okay. I had been struggling to remember my thorn, and you saying finance bro just materialized it for me. And this might be shallow alongside what I just said.
Mm.
But honestly, I thought Grant's driving the Ferrari to his mom's house was a Bachelor prop, but it sounds like, per a different conversation, that him driving a Ferrari means that inferred that it actually belongs to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, there's something about that for me that just felt like such a turnoff.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. But then again, I'm not a car person, and I think it's just what I will say is he at least lives in Houston, where that is a functional car for Houston. So I'm a little bit more forgiving. Where I really hate it is when somebody in like the Northeast has one of those.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, now you're literally just a douchebag. Yeah. Because that's not even a car you can drive 7 to 8 months out of the year in the Northeast. You live in...
status symbol.
It's a status symbol.
Like in Miami, cars are so big.
Yeah, but the problem is in Miami, what happens is most of those cars are not even owned; they're rented, they're leased, and stuff like that. And so, it's they rent them for the month or whatever. I agree. When I see certain obvious status symbol-y type things like that, like a car, it's just like it's a turnoff for me. I'm a little more sympathetic when it does have practical purpose, or
if I knew like a backstory about ever since I was a kid I wanted this thing, and that's was a first wealth goal of mine is to be able to afford this, and blah, blah. Like if I knew a little bit more, then I might feel less icked out by it, but it wasn't for me. But if that's the best thorn I could come up with, it means this was a pretty good episode.
This was a good episode.
Yeah.
It was a great entry. When we look at Joan's season, we look at Gary's season, we look at Jen's season, and even we look at Joey's season. Joey being the king, the best bachelor of all time. I think his limo entrance episode was inferior to what we saw tonight.
Yeah, I think Grant did a great job. I'm so excited to...
Not just Grant, production.
Yeah.
I think casting did a great job. Yeah. These are some great women for Grant. I think Grant did a great job. I thought production and editing gave us a really interesting, well-edited show. My only complaint really is they could have cut this out. They could have cut 30 minutes off this season.
Yeah, 90's the right amount of time.
Yeah.
But I know that's not what we get here. Don't worry. We'll still be watching the full 2 hours next week and every week after that for Grant's season. So come back here with us next week for more. Until then, you can find us on Instagram at Reactivity TV. Also, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. Tell us what your thoughts are in the comments. We asked you a bunch of questions today. Please let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, well, we will be back next week with episode 2 of Grant's season of The Bachelor. We will see you then. Bye.
See ya.